would guess it had to be around my 40th year, and we went to Oregon Ridge to see the 4th of July fireworks and hear the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra play, and it was me and my wife and my daughter, who was probably just 5 or 6 at the time, and a friend of ours and his family, and you know, it's quite a spectacle. You got the orchestra in front of you, everybody's up on the hill. As the sun sets, they, you know, set off the fireworks to all sorts of great patriotic songs to honor America and the ideals of America, as importantly or more. And you know, before they really got it rolling, they asked all the veterans in the audience to stand up, and there was a couple thousand people on that hill, but there wasn't very many of us standing. And they called us up one by one: Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and it was an honor. I remember holding my daughter. I picked her up with me, and I was actually happened to be wearing a blue shirt, and I was really proud of myself and my family, because so many members of my family have served too, and it was nice to be acknowledged. And you know, they go through and they play a part of each of the fight songs for each of the branches, and it's a long time to be standing up there in front of a bunch of people. We were up in the front row, and I felt like everybody was, you know, looking at us, and I got to thinking, you know, the family that was with us, his family served too. His father was in the intelligence services. He owns a company that does a lot of support for the intelligence services, and important work. Work that gives us, runs cover for us, and gives us time to think through the big problems of the world, and you know, keeps us from bringing things to a head right in the last chapter of humanity, before we can, you know, figure out how to save each other from each other. And the military does that kind of work too. And I got to thinking, you know, why didn't he ask to get stand up? And then I started thinking, how many firemen are in the audience? How many police officers? How many teachers? How many social workers? Right? My mom spent her professional life as an interpreter for the deaf. You know, why don't they get to stand? How about the doctors? So, how about the public defenders and the public prosecutors? So it just really got me thinking, you know, some of us were in the service in the classical sense, but many of us serve, aren't recognized. And I, you know, sometimes I look around at what's going on in America right now, which is close to me and far from me because I live overseas now, again. And I think back to that night, and you know, I feel like, God, man, if I was on the microphone that night, I would have said, okay, everybody who served in the military, stand up. Everybody who mentors children, get on up. Everybody who is a teacher, everybody who runs into burning buildings to save other people, every crossing guard, stand up, and so on and so forth, until we've exhausted the whole list of, people who serve other people. I've done it as a airman in the Air Force, as a teacher for 5 years, as a founder of a free MMA school for low-income kids, and over here teaching little girls how to play soccer so they can build emotional strength, because they don't get that opportunity to play sports over here. But anyway, I was just thinking, and I think sometimes, what if we had everybody stand up who lives a life of service to others? And then at the end of it, in my worst moments, I feel like if I had that microphone, and at the end of it, if you're not standing, get the fuck out of here, right? You're a taker, and our country and our world needs givers. Yeah, you pay your taxes, fuck you, everybody pays taxes. But then in my best moments, I think about that experience and that acknowledgement, which is long overdue for the 1% of people who serve in the United States Armed Forces, but is sorely lacking for all the other contributors in our society. And I think about that, and people who live their lives and never really serve anybody without their own family name. And, if they're just sitting on the ground and everybody else is standing up and standing for something, not for their politics or whatever, but for what they believe in, and most importantly, standing for others, I don't think you'd have to kick them out or even call them out. I think that it would be a cathartic moment where they could just really evaluate how they're spending their short time on this planet, and what that means for their soul and the care of their soul in whatever form they believe. And maybe they make a different set of choices. So that's the service.